Hello there, everybody. Hey, this is Paul Hanson again, and long time no see here on Patreon. Well, I put the question out there as to what everybody would like me to talk about, and so the first answer that came to me was, show me how to play over rhythm changes. Like, I got rhythm, I got rhythm, I got rhythm. So I'm going to get into that a little bit with this, and thank you again for suggesting that. So what I'm going to do here is show to you on two different instruments. One will be a soprano saxophone, and one will be with bassoons. So here you see some chord changes. These are concert chord changes for rhythm changes. So now I will play the little audio sample of rhythm changes from the iReal Pro app. So I know that may have been fast for some of you. For the sake of absorbing everything, we're going to take it slow one time here. So the trick here is, if you look and see that there are two chords for every bar, you don't have very long on one chord, so you have to weave lines in throughout this. You can either go a vertical approach, which is up and down the scales and chords, or you can go more of a horizontal fashion, which the notes are closer together, but you try to hook notes from one to another that kind of go with the chord that's coming up. Both are great methods. I'm going to explain what a vertical type of line is and what a horizontal line is by playing some examples. So you're starting with the vertical line, right? Which sounds like, that's kind of going up and down arpeggio, like a third and another third or something like that, or even bigger. That kind of stuff. Now, this is horizontal. Half step or a whole step, right? That's the difference. Thank you. Okay, so now I'm going to demonstrate on both these instruments, both this soprano saxophone and this bassoon, a very extremely vertical approach, which is basically looking at the root as your first note out of a 4/8 note sequence. And then you go to the next two beats as a different chord, you go to the root and play a very simple sequence. I'll play it with the music. Here we go. And now on bassoon. So that's one way to do things, but it's very basic, and it really doesn't sound very musical. It sounds like an exercise. You're playing the root, third, fifth, seventh on every single chord, and you don't want to be doubling the bass when you're playing a solo because the bass player is already doing that, and it just kind of sounds boring. So there's other things that musicians do playing vertical. Things like, say this, starting on, say, the second degree of the scale in B flat major, which is C. So I'll start on a C. Something like that. So now I'll do a little bit on the soprano saxophone. rails a little bit, but what's very interesting is that when you have a lot of different things at your disposal, when you're improvising, whatever comes up in the moment is kind of where you can go. You realize there's so many different places you can go because you've practiced a bunch of different things. You just got to get enough flow. We'll talk about that later. But now I'll do it in bassoon. Okay, so, well, I think I really went off the rails on that one. Now, of course, I started on the rails, basically the rails being what I told you was the lick to play. But more so, you can maybe hear the things I'm talking about, like a mixture of kind of vertical up and down to it, or da da da, like, you know, and scales, or chromatic stuff, that kind of stuff. So there's different things going on in the creation of solos. You don't have to play all this intervallic vertical stuff. But when you're reading chord changes fast, things happen fast. So you kind of have to know what direction you're going, where you're going for, you know, what notes and how to resolve them. Again, the saxophone players are more used to doing this because it's idiomatic of being a saxophone player in a jazz situation. You can hit something with your finger that'll make sense, and then you can kind of put it into a context later. On bassoon, you'll find yourself in all kinds of situations where it's just a very difficult technical adventure. So, but there's something that I should tell you about that kind of can help, and that's playing minor pentatonics, or common tones that are in the actual formation of the solo. And often solos do this. They don't start necessarily playing all the changes. They can start playing maybe blues licks or minor pentatonics. So I'll do some things with minor pentatonics that'll make sense. Say a G minor pentatonic. I'll start in that for now. Well, it's getting late. Light's starting to die out here, about 8 o'clock here in California in the evening, almost summertime. So, two more things. One is that I didn't even really talk about the B section, which is different than the A section, and the A section comes back at the end. It's a AABA kind of thing. So, about the B section, it's basically you have one chord for 2 bars. That means you have a lot more time to play around with the chord and really get into something on one chord for 2 bars at a time. Whoopee, that's great. Okay, that's one point. Number two, another way to kind of start yourself off, especially during the A section, is think more bluesish. And that's always fine because blues and jazz are tied to the hip. And here's an approach that might work well for beginning a solo or in a different section of the tune. That's just about all the light and time I have left. This is a long video. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, and I'm sure you will have many probably, please ask me either on Patreon or YouTube later or Facebook or whatever. Just ask me questions. I'm going to put some music in here, some licks. And there's so much goes into soloing, but it's your whole experience. You want to be free and go wherever you want to go. All the musical combinations of melodies that you can come up with on your own or things you've heard from the past that you kind of integrated yourself. Thank you very much, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.